Good evening, everybody, and welcome inside Pheno Field here in Milford, as Milford TV is happy to bring you coverage of Milford Legion Baseball. This is Milford TV Executive Director Tim Coet on the call. Happy to be with you for our first coverage of the Milford Post 59 team for this 2023 season. We just wrapped up with our Milford High School sports coverage for the 2022-2023 school year, and now it is time for Legion Baseball to get underway. Milford actually already 4 games deep into this 2023 regular season schedule, and it has been a hot start to the season, to say the least, for Post 59 as they come in with a perfect 4-0 record. They have been mowing down the competition through the early days of the season. And a little bit of a different type of game for you to watch here tonight, as Milford takes on not one of their Zone 4 rivals, but a rival from across state lines over in Connecticut, in Tri-Town. And so this game being labeled an exhibition game here tonight, so this one not going against the team's records. And so we're going to see some different things. We might see a lot of different personnel cycled through over the course of the night tonight, and one of the biggest differences to this game is that each team is using a 10-man lineup. So we'll see an additional player inserted into the lineups for each of these teams. So the lineup cards might be a bit fluid as we go on for this game, so we will certainly do our best to keep you updated on the personnel out there on the field. And you may or may not be able to tell from your screens whether you're watching us on YouTube or on our educational or HD channels, but there is some rain that has just recently started falling here at Pheno Field, and we do think the rain is going to continue for the balance of the evening, hoping that it doesn't get any heavier than it is right now. As you can see, the teams are ready to get this game started. And so before we get to the first batter, let's bring you the starting lineup for visiting Tri-Town, Connecticut. Leading it off is their shortstop, Lucas Carita. The third baseman, Isaac Johnson, bats second, with the catcher, Alex Graver, batting third. John Ferraro bats cleanup and plays first base, with Rob Dion, the center fielder, batting fifth. Rob Ellsworth is tonight's starting pitcher, batting sixth, with the left fielder, Nick Devlin, batting seventh. Jacob Olson is the right fielder, batting eighth, with Aiden Brothers, the second baseman, batting ninth. And in the number 10 spot in this lineup tonight, and we'll call him the designated hitter for this game, it is Brady Devlin. Tri-Town, Connecticut is under the direction of head coach Jason Akana. And we'll sneak in the Milford Post 59 starting lineup before this game gets going. Here is the lineup for Milford Post 59. Leading it off is the second baseman, Louis Consigli. Jacob Smith plays first base and bats second, with Tyler Wilkie, the third baseman, batting third. Evan Cornelius, the recent Milford High grad, is your starting pitcher, batting cleanup, with fellow Milford teammate Keith Lee in the DH spot tonight, batting fifth. Scott Paliuka plays left field and bats sixth, with Jack Krause catching and hitting seventh. Sean McGee is the shortstop, batting eighth, with Eli Sylvia playing right field, batting ninth. And Nick Koch is in the number 10 spot in the batting order, and he will play center field. And Milford, of course, is once again under the direction of head coach Steve DeVito. And if I have my history correct, this would be Coach DeVito's 9th season at the helm of this Post 59 team. Steve taking over in 2014 in that memorable run to the Northeast Regionals, and now in his 9th season as the head coach of this program. And meanwhile, the first pitch in from Evan Cornelius as Legion Baseball is underway here at Pheno. And again, so pleased to bring you live coverage, all the sights and sounds here from Pheno Field here on Milford TV. Once again, streaming the coverage live on YouTube, but also bringing you the coverage live as well locally on our educational and HD channels. You can also find those feeds at milfordtv.net as well. So plenty of platforms carrying the coverage here tonight as Cornelius deals in a strike. Evan Cornelius coming off of a terrific senior season with the Milford Scarlet Hawks high school team. That culminated with a victory in the postseason as Milford was able to win in the opening round. It was a solid season overall for the Milford high school team. Made it into the tournament, a victory in the first round behind a stellar pitching performance from Evan Cornelius, and then came up just short against a tough Beverly team in the second round in a close game, a 2-1 final score. 2-ball, 2-strike count here on the leadoff batter for Tri-Town, Lucas Carita, batting from the right side. Light rain continuing to fall. Here's the 2-2 pitch, and it's slapped foul. This is the second start of the season in a post-59 uniform for Evan Cornelius. He comes in with an ERA of 2.21, a 1-0 record. Allowed 5 hits and 2 earned runs in his first start of the season, walked 6 and struck out 10. Double-digit Ks, a regular occurrence for Cornelius. Here he leaves the pitch high, and so the count runs full to the first Tri-Town batter of the game. Carita at the plate now. He'll be followed by Isaac Johnson and Alex Graver. Here comes the payoff pitch, and it's swung on and missed. Blowing that fastball past Carita, and so there is the first K of the night for Evan.
Third baseman, Isaac Johnson.
So now Johnson standing in. Back-to-back righties leading off this Tri-Town lineup. One ball and no strikes the count. We did not catch a post number for Tri-Town. Here's the 1-0 pitch and a half-hearted swing from Johnson. Hearing some chatter before the game that Tri-Town had a lot of roster turnover from their club from a season ago. Again, Johnson couldn't hold up on the swing, and the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. Base is empty with 1 down, just underway here in the top of the first in an exhibition matchup between Milford and Tri-Town. Here is the pitch, and that misses. Good take that time from Isaac Johnson. Back into the windup, Cornelius's pitch, and that misses outside. It skips off the glove of the catcher, and another full count. Defensively, the Milford Post 59 team looks like this. Jack Krause is behind the plate, Tyler Wilkie at third, Sean McGee at short, Lewis Consigli at second, and Jacob Smith at first. Left to right in the outfield, Scott Paliuka, Nick Koch, and Eli Sylvia. Here is another 3-2 pitch, and that is on the inside corner for strike 3. So it's taken Cornelius 14 pitches, but he's gathered back-to-back Ks to lead off this top of the first inning. And with 2 down now, Alex Graver steps in. He takes a fastball off the outside part of the plate for ball 1. The lights on here at Fino. Heavy cloud cover with the intermittent rainfall. And big cut for Graver, but he cannot make contact. Fans sprinkled about the ballpark here to see this one get underway. A lot of umbrellas in the crowd, as you would expect. Contingent from Tri-Town making the trip to see their team in action here at Fino. It's a 1 ball, 2 strike count now on the Tri-Town catcher with the bases empty and 2 down. Cornelius into the windup and the pitch, and it's popped up on the infield. Cornelius going towards the third base line now into foul territory, makes the catch for the out that retires the side, and so Cornelius sets them down 1-2-3 in the top of the first inning. Post 59 will take their first swings of the game when we come back next. Stay tuned to the coverage of Milford Legion Baseball here on Milford TV.
Consigli.
Bottom of the first inning now here at Fino Field. Lewis Consigli settling into the box and swings away at the first offering from the Tri-Town starting pitcher, Rob Ellsworth. Consigli back for another season here with Post 59 after competing with the Milford Scarlet Hawks varsity baseball team this season. If I'm not mistaken, last year, Lewis was one of the youngest players on this Legion roster. Consigli sending a chopper down the third base line. That's foul. A lot of different towns represented on this Legion roster this season. A good mix of new and returning players. Milford losing 10 players from last year's team. But schools represented this year: Milford High School, of course, BVT, Hopedale High School, Holliston High School, Medway, Bellingham, Nipmuc. As Ellsworth gets the strikeout on Consigli to open this bottom half of the first inning. Good contingent of Milford players on the roster as well. Total of 7 Milford Scarlet Hawks on this Legion roster. Jacob Smith, meanwhile, swings at the first pitch. He fouls it away. Smith, a recent graduate of Hopedale High School. Normally we get an opportunity to scout out some of the Hopedale players in Milford High School's annual senior night game that has become a fixture of our spring sports coverage. Unfortunately, as everyone is well aware, the weather this spring was not very cooperative. And due to some inclement weather, it sort of wreaked havoc on part of our spring sports schedule. We unfortunately were not able to bring that game to you. But happy to have some of the Blue Raiders represented on this Legion roster this season, as that pitch comes in tight and clips Smith, so he will head down to first base.
Number 21, third baseman, Tyler Wilkie.
And that will bring up Tyler Wilkie. Wilkie, also a member of Hopedale High School's class of 2023. He takes the first pitch outside for a ball. We'll take you through some of the final scores from the early part of the season for Milford as the broadcast goes along. Runner aboard at first base with one down in the bottom of the first as Wilkie takes low, and the count goes to 2-0. Long hesitation in between pitches here for Ellsworth. Now fires in, and that is low. That's a 3-ball, no-strike count now on Wilkie. Milford with their gold uniform top look for the game here today. Of course, Milford sports a number of uniform options that you'll see as the season goes along. That pitch inside for ball 4, so Wilkie walks on 4 pitches. Milford now has a couple of runners on, with one down for their cleanup hitter, Evan Cornelius. Cornelius batting .333 on the young season. He's had 9 at-bats so far, has 3 hits, an RBI. Has already scored 6 runs. He's walked 5 times. Waiting to see the first pitch. I beg your pardon, an 0-1 pitch from Ellsworth, and that is in for strike 2. Smith, the lead runner at second, Wilkie at first. And the pitch from the righty is driven out into left center field, sinking quickly. It's down for a hit. Milford read that very well on the bases as Smith comes around from second base to score. And it's an RBI single for Evan Cornelius that puts post 59 on top. It is 1-0.
Now at the plate, number 20, the designated hitter, Keith Lee.
Milford read that right away that ball was going to drop, so Smith was on the move. He was already rounding third base as that ball dropped down to the turf, so no problem to come around to score. Wilkie advanced to second base, so it's runners at first and second, and you can make it second and third on the wild pitch from Ellsworth. And Milford applying immediate pressure here in the first inning. Keith Lee, meanwhile, at the plate now with 2 runners in scoring position. Lee getting the start at DH tonight. Rare occurrence to have Evan Cornelius on the mound, not throwing to his high school teammate, Keith Lee. Here's a 2-0 pitch now, and that is high. 3-0 pitch. And that's low for ball 4. And so that's 4 straight reaching base against Ellsworth. 2 walks in the inning. And Milford now has the bases loaded for their number 6 hitter, Scott Paliuka. Another returning player to this Milford lineup. Scott swings at the first pitch and sends it out to the gap in left center field, down for a hit. This will score a couple of runs for Milford, as Wilkie and Cornelius both cross the plate. Paliuka winds up at second base with a 2-run double, and Milford is up 3-0.
Now batting number 2, the catcher, Jack Krause.
Well, Paliuka experienced in this post-59 roster. Jumping all over that first pitch to drive in 2 more runs. Paliuka back for 1 more year of Legion eligibility after finishing up his freshman year at Endicott. A Hopkinton High School graduate. 2 RBIs here. And a quick 0-2 count now on the Milford catcher, Jack Krause. Runners at second and third for the Hawks. It is Keith Lee now the lead runner at third base. 0-2 pitch. That is inside. The rain has eased up for the moment. Another pitch from Ellsworth, and this is sent foul to the backstop. I want to welcome in all of our viewers who are streaming the coverage live on YouTube. We'll continue to stream all of our games throughout the summer on our YouTube page. You can find it youtube.com/MyMilfordTV, as this ball is scorched down the third base line. It's a fair ball. Lee will cross the plate. Here comes Paliuka around third. He will score. It's a 2-run single for Jack Krause. And Milford with a big inning right out of the gates. Now up 5-0.
That brings up number 3, the shortstop, Sean McGee.
So Krause now the only base runner. He leads away from first as the 8th batter in this Milford lineup comes to the plate. And Milford's Sean McGee. Sean just finishing up his junior year at Milford High School, so we'll see Sean around for one more year. As the pickoff throw, one hops in towards the back. It might have grabbed Kraus off the helmet. Getting some good-natured business from his teammates in the first base dugout after. Breaks right back out to a lead. And now the pitch is swung on and missed. The ball gets away from the catcher, and Kraus is able to advance to second base. So up to second base on the pass ball. 1-1 pitch now, and this is sent in the air out into left center field. Another extra base hit here for post 59 as McGee cruises into second. Kraus crosses the plate.
Let's go, Tri-Town. Let's go, let's pick it up, Tri-Town.
It's the second double of the inning, and Milford now enjoys a 6-0 lead. So again, this is a team that has been pouring it on, perhaps coming out with some added purpose this season, given the way that things wrapped up in the 2022 season. It's hard to forget the last time we were out here at Pheno Field covering this team in action. It was on the penultimate day of the 2022 Legion State Championship being held here at Pheno. Milford taking on their Zone 4 rival Leominster for the right to move on to the final day of the tournament. And Milford looked to have it wrapped up with an 8-2 lead in the 7th inning, but Leominster had other ideas with a historic comeback as they scored 7 times in the 7th inning to take a lead, and they ultimately ended Milford's season in gut-wrenching fashion with a 9-8 comeback win. Milford has been taking it out on their opponents so far this season. They have been scoring an average of 10 runs a game through their first 4. 3 out of their first 4 games on the season have been mercy rule wins. Meanwhile, after Eli Sylvia reaches, we now see the 10th member of this post 59 lineup in Milford's Nick Koch, who pops one up out into right field. And so that is the second out now in the inning. And that breaks up a string of 8 consecutive batters reaching for Milford. And we will now go back around to the top spot in the lineup. Lewis Consigli, who struck out to start this inning before the on-base parade began. Batting with runners at first and second base, and now 2 down. Takes the first pitch high. Again, if you're just joining us, playing by some slightly different rules here tonight with an exhibition game. Both teams operating with a 10-player lineup as Consigli sends another scorcher down the left field line. It's a fair ball, and another run will cross the plate for Milford. An RBI single for Consigli as Sean McGee comes around from second base to score, and it is now 7-0 Milford. Sylvia moved up to second base. And now another at bat for Jacob Smith, who was hit by a pitch earlier in this inning, takes one low. Milford fans certainly enjoying a hot start to this game. Smith now sends a bounding ball over to first base into the glove of John Ferraro. He takes it to the bag to finally bring an end to this bottom of the first inning, but not before Milford sends 12 men to the plate. They score 7 times, and after just a single inning of play, Milford with a big 7-0. Well, if you're just now tuning in to the start of this Legion baseball coverage, you've already missed quite a bit of offense, as you can see on our score graphic in the bottom of your screen. An early 7-0 post 59 lead. Big hits in the inning. A 2-run double from Scott Paliuka. RBI producing hits from Cornelius, Kraus, McGee, and Consigli to build up a hefty lead here early on against a non-Zone 4 opponent in Tri-Town, Connecticut. Tri-Town bringing up their 4, 5, and 6 hitters against Evan Cornelius. John Ferraro, Rob Dion, and Rob Ellsworth, the expected hitters in the frame.
Let's go, Johnny.
We'll see ultimately how long Cornelius goes in this exhibition game. But staking an arm like Cornelius to a 7-run lead makes it a real uphill battle for the opposition. About to throw his 23rd pitch. And that's outside. Cornelius thought he had a strikeout, but instead will step back on the pitching rubber with another full count. These Tri-Town hitters have been working deep counts so far tonight. But ultimately, Cornelius wins the battle. He picks up his 3rd K.
That brings up number 11, the center fielder, Rob Dion.
Go, Robbie.
So now Rob Dion at the plate, the Tri-Town center fielder. He takes the first pitch away. Still a lot of support for these Tri-Town players from their fans that have made the trip up, many of whom are positioned in the bleachers behind home plate, as is typically the case during these Milford home games. It seems like the visiting fans always tend to be packed a little bit closer to the field, where the home fans prefer to take in the game down the right field side by the concession stand. Here comes a 1-1 pitch now from Cornelius, and that has Dion backing out of the way. It's a 2-1 count. Tri-Town coming into the game today with just 2 games under their belt. Swing and a miss here brings the count to 2-2. I'm guessing high school playoffs may have caused Tri-Town to have to reschedule some of their games. They've played the same opponent twice so far on the season, and that is Moosop, losing the first one 3-2, and then winning just yesterday against that same opponent by a final score of 8-5. Yet another full count here. Here's the pitch, and it is swung on and missed.
Coming to the plate, number
The only
6,
negative in the
pitcher,
performance for
Rob
Cornelius so
Ellsworth.
far has been the elevated pitch count. Count has gone full to just about every hitter that's come to the plate so far, but of those 5 at-bats, 4 of them have ultimately ended in Ks. Now a called strike 1 delivered into Cornelius's counterpart, Rob Ellsworth. He quickly falls behind 0-2, so Cornelius looking for his 2nd straight 1-2-3 inning of the outing. No balls and 2 strikes with the bases empty. Here's the pitch, and that comes inside. Ellsworth not making much of an effort to try to get out of the way of that pitch.
Get ready to drive this one. Here we go, kid.
34th pitch from Cornelius is up and away. 2-2 pitch now, and that is swung on and missed. That pitch might have been low, but Ellsworth went after it, and Cornelius strikes out the side in the second inning. He now has 5 Ks. And so that will send us on to the bottom half of the second inning. Milford 7 and Tri-Town nothing here on Milford TV.
Leading off for Milford in the bottom of the second inning, number 21, third baseman Tyler Wilkie.
As Milford comes to the plate for the bottom half of the second inning, they will do so facing a new Tri-Town pitcher. Rob Ellsworth's day is done after just 1 inning. He is replaced by the right-hander Alex Grauer. And he faces Tyler Wilkie, who sends a ball deep down the left field line, but that twists off into foul territory. We believe that the pitcher is the only change for Tri-Town here in the second inning. But again, with this being an exhibition between these two teams, we expect that there may be some player substitutions as we continue on in this game. So we'll look to stay on top of that as much as possible. Wilkie now with a rope back up the middle. It gets past Grauer and out into center field for a hit. More hard contact for these post-59 hitters, and Wilkie, who walked and scored in the first inning, now aboard for a second time with a leadoff single.
13, the pitcher, Evan Cornelius.
Tri-Town was able to retire the leadoff batter in the first inning, but ran into big-time trouble from there. So now here is Cornelius, who drove in a run with a single last inning and has pitched 2 flawless innings on the mound. Watches that pitch miss low for ball 1. Tri-Town trying to keep Wilkie close over at first. Here's the 1-0 pitch, and it's popped up right around the first base bag. Ferraro in foul territory makes the catch.
That brings up number 20, the designated hitter, Keith Lee.
And so Tri-Town able to retire Cornelius this time around. Now 1 out and 1 aboard for Keith Lee. Lee walked and scored as part of that 7-run first inning. Now sends the pitch down the third base line, but it's bobbled by Isaac Johnson, and he has no play. He was able to get to it on the 1 hop, but then the ball just sort of squirted out of his glove.
Coming to the plate, number 4, the left fielder, Scott Paliuka.
And so that should go as an E5, the first error of the game. So runners at first and second base now for Scott Paliuka, who again goes after the first pitch. This time skies it out to center field, backing up Dion. He makes the catch. And so there are 2 outs now in the inning and a chance for Tri-Town to put up a 0 if they can retire the catcher, Jack Krause.
Now batting number 2, the catcher, Jack Krause.
Krause drove in a run with an RBI single in the first inning. And Krause pounds this ball down the left field line, but it's foul. No balls and a strike on Krause as the pitcher Grauer steps off. Krause again sending one down the left field side, but again it's fouled. Making solid contact, but he hasn't been able to keep it between the lines. And the count now 0-2. The umpire trying to get the count updated on the scoreboard. Now it is reflected accurately. No balls and 2 strikes. The pitch, and it is swung on and missed. A strikeout for Grauer, who ends up pitching a scoreless inning of relief. Milford strands a pair of runners. And so after 2 full innings here at Fino, it remains 7-0 Milford here on the coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on Milford TV.
Number 14, Sean Burchard.
Some changes for post 59 as we enter now into the top half of the 3rd inning. A new pitcher on, as we'll get a look at Sean Anderson, who replaces Evan Cornelius. Anderson, a recent graduate of Medway High School. Excellent 2 innings of work out of Evan Cornelius. Struck out 5 of the 6 batters he faced, did not allow a base runner. Light work tonight for Evan in this exhibition game. The other change for Milford is defensively, as Sean Burchard is into the game, replacing Tyler Welke at 3rd. As this ball is hit very softly back up the middle. Tough play for the second baseman. And did he get the throw there in time? It looks like he did. Shielded by the runner at the call from the umpire, but indeed that throw gets there in time. What a nice play from Louis Consigli at second base to get the out. Had to come in hard and throw across his body, but a very nice defensive play for out number 1. Only the second ball that Tri-Town's been able to put in play in this game so far. As Anderson now deals in a strike to the number 8 hitter, Jacob Olson. Now 0-2 the count, as Milford gives Tri-Town a look now from the left side. Here's the 0-2 pitch, and that had Olson way out in front. Lunges after it. And so a strikeout now for Anderson, his first. The 6th now for Milford pitching. So 2 quick outs. Aiden Brothers now at the plate. He takes a pitch outside. So we're still first time through this Tri-Town lineup, which again, we have 10 batters in each lineup for this exhibition game tonight. 1 ball, 1 strike count now on the Tri-Town second baseman. Takes a pitch outside, 2-1 now the count. In between innings, we had a little bit more light rain, but it has stayed light and it hasn't been constant since the game got underway. So we'll take what we can get. It has been hard to find days that have not been interrupted with rain so far throughout this month of June. It's a 2 ball, 2 strike count meanwhile on Brothers. Here's the pitch, and it's a tapper sent foul. This is the last time that Milford will play here at Fino for the next 10 days. They will do a lot of work on the road coming up in the next week and a half, including a tournament up at Holy Cross. Some Zone 4 road games mixed in there as well. Their next home game won't be until June 26th. As Brothers watches that pitch miss low, and now it is a full count. Should he reach, we'd see the number 10 hitter, Brady Devlin. Here's the payoff, and that's in for strike 3. So a nice inning of relief from Anderson. 2 more Ks for the Milford pitching staff. Still no base runners through the first 3 for Tri-Town. And we'll move on to the bottom half of this 3rd inning. It is still 7-0 in favor of Post 59. You're on coverage of Milford.
Leading off from Milford in the bottom of the 3rd inning, number 3.
7
Sean
runs
McGee.
on 6 hits with no errors for Post 59. No runs, no hits, 1 error for Tri-Town. As this ball is sent down the third base line on the very first pitch of the inning to Sean McGee, but it is a foul ball. Sean McGee, Eli Sylvia, and Nick Koch, the 3 batters expected in the home half of the 3rd. And now this ball sent on a line out to left field. That touches down for a leadoff base hit. McGee thinking 2, and he will get there standing up. Took Tri-Town a long time to track that ball down out in left, and so McGee takes advantage, winds up at second base, and that's already his 2nd double of the game. He is 2 for 2 with a pair of doubles, an RBI, and a run scored. Already filling up the stat sheet. Now a second plate appearance for Eli Sylvia, who walked his first time up. He will send one out towards left field. That drops in for a base hit. Hard charge around third base for McGee, but he will stay there. The throw comes all the way into the plate, and so that allows Sylvia to advance to second base. It'll go in the books as a single. He takes second base on the throw.
Number 9, Nick Koch.
And so Milford, with their first 2 runners aboard, they have them at second and third with nobody out for Nick Koch. Koch takes the first pitch for strike 1. Alex Grauer back out for a second inning of relief. He was able to pitch around a leadoff single and an error at third base last inning to keep Milford off the scoreboard. Jam here right away with 2 in scoring position and no one out. Here's a 1-1 pitch, and that dips inside. Now a swing and a miss evens the count at 2. We mentioned, of course, Steve DeVito, once again, the head coach of this Post 59 team, will run down the rest of the coaching staff after this next pitch. It's up high for ball 3. Eric Cormier is the pitching coach for the team this year. Derek Johnson, an assistant coach. Brendan Windback for another year as an assistant coach. And Brett Crosby, of course, once again, the game day coordinator.
That brings up number 5,
While
Louis
Nick Koch
Kinzigley.
ends up working the walk, so Milford has them loaded up here as we go back to the top spot in the batting order. Louis Kinzigley has to duck out of the way of that first pitch as it comes high and tight. McGee at third, Sylvia at second, Koch at first. And now a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Kinzigley 1 for 2 so far tonight, a single that drove in a run and a strikeout. Again, has to duck out of the way of a renegade off-speed pitch. Now quickly the 2-1, and Kinzigley swings and misses. Grauer keeping a fast pace here with the bases loaded. 2-2 pitch now, and it's sent foul. Third baseman playing close to the bag. First baseman in tight on the grass. Double play depth up the middle. 2-2 pitch swung on and missed. Good time for a strikeout for Alex Grauer. Keeps the base runners in place. They're loaded now with one down.
That brings up number 16, Jacob Smith.
And now Jacob Smith looking for his first hit. He reached on a hit by pitch in the first inning and grounded out to first base later in that first inning as the final out. And quickly down in the count here, no balls and 2 strikes. Grauer getting into a jam, but looks more effective now with the bases loaded. Here's his 0-2, and this is sent in the air out to right field. And that is caught by Jacob Olson for out number 2. And again, the Milford runners have to hold up.
That brings up number 14, Sean Burchard.
So now we'll get our first look at Sean Burchard, who came into the game to take over defensively for Tyler Wilkie, and now will take the at-bat here with the bases loaded and 2 outs. We did also get the word from Coach DeVito that players can re-enter the game based on the exhibition rules that we're working with tonight. So just because someone comes out doesn't mean you might not see them again. As Burchard sends that ball foul. Crashing down in the stands next to the third base dugout, sending some fans scattering. It's a quick 0-2 count on Burchard. The pitch from Grauer. Able to hold up on the swing on a pitch that bounced in. Wilkie had been 1 for 1, a single, and also a walk and a run scored. Here's a 1-2 pitch, that's upstairs. And so the count now evens up at 2-2. And now this ball hit hard down the right field line. It's down for a hit and boxed around in right field. 2 runs in so far for post 59. They will hold Nick Koch at third base. So just as it looked like Milford might squander this bases loaded chance, Burchard comes through with a pinch hit, 2-run single.
Number 11, Sean Anderson.
And Milford now on top 9-0 in this game. McGee and Sylvia crossing the plate. And now first pitch swinging, this ball is lined back up the middle. An RBI base hit now for Sean Anderson, taking Evan Cornelius' spot in the lineup. And that drives in Koch from third.
Number 20, Keith Lee.
And Milford now reaches double digits once again. It's becoming old hat on this season. They take a 10-0 lead and a chance now for Keith Lee to swing the bat in this inning. He swings at the first pitch, sends it down the third base line. It's a fair ball. Got past Isaac Johnson down the left field side.
That brings up number 6, Colin Burchard.
The contact coming fast and furious. This ball on a big bounce to shortstop. The throw across the way from Carita is on target, as that ground out will end the inning, but not before Milford tacks 3 more runs on the scoreboard. They now lead this game by a score of 10-0. We'll move
to the top of the 4th inning, number 22, Brady Devlin.
Well, this would be the point in the game that if you're scoring at home, I'd suggest just putting the pencil down and enjoying the remainder of this one, as We have some more defensive changes to let you know about for post 59 as we get into this fourth inning. Sean Anderson back out on the hill for his second inning of relief, facing the number 10 hitter in this unusual exhibition lineup, Brady Devlin. So we'll get to those defensive changes momentarily. Here's a 1-1 pitch. In between batters, we'll just go ahead and go around the entire infield and outfield alignment for you. As that pitch is down in the dirt. Two balls and one strike now against Devlin. Here's the pitch, swung on and missed.
Hey, that's a nice cut, Brady. Get your head on that, get that mirror on that. That's a good one. Come on, buddy.
Lefty back into the windup. Here is the pitch. And that's on the inside corner for strike three. Devlin was twisting out of the way, but then gets the bad news from the umpire. And that's strikeout number 3 since coming into the game for Sean Anderson. So here is your full defensive alignment now for post 59. Jack Krause remains behind the plate. Sean Burchard now at third base. Sean McGee still at short. It is Eli Sylvia now at second base with Jacob Smith at first. In left field now it is Jordan Martirano. Nick Koch remains in center, and Colin Burchard, who was the pinch hitter in that final at-bat Milford took in the bottom of the fourth, grounding out to shortstop. He stays in the game and takes over in right field. Meanwhile, we go back up to the top spot in the Tri-Town order as this Connecticut team still is in search of their first base runner. Lucas Carita fouling the ball away. No balls and 2 strikes the count. He struck out swinging against the Milford starting pitcher, Evan Cornelius, to open up the ball game.
Here we go, Luke. Let's go get.
Here comes the 0-2, and it's swung on and missed. That is now 9 Ks for Milford pitching through 3 2/3. Only 2 outs in this game from Tri-Town have come via balls put in play.
Now at the plate, number 12, Gabe Girard.
So Anderson now facing a pinch hitter for Tri-Town, Gabriel Girard.
Be ready to pounce. Let's go.
So he bats in the place of Isaac Johnson. And fooled badly on the pitch by Anderson.
Go get.
Base is empty with 2 outs in the top of the fourth. Here is an 0-2 pitch, and it is swung on and missed for strike 3. And so Sean Anderson strikes out the side in the fourth inning. He has now matched Cornelius with 5 Ks, 10 in all for Milford pitching. Dominant on the mound and dominant at the plate in this game so far. Post 59 up big, 10-0 on Tri-Town. Bottom of the fourth inning is next here on Milford TV.
Milford Legion.
Trying to absorb all of the changes for Tri-Town as we get underway with this bottom half of the fourth inning. Let's start with the man at the plate. It is Jack Krause continuing to hit out of the number 7 spot in the Milford order. He faces a new pitcher on for Tri-Town, Aiden Brothers, who comes in from second base to take over as the 3rd Tri-Town pitcher. It's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Takes a pitch at the top of the strike zone. 1-2 count. Continuing to cool down here at the field with the setting sun and the intermittent rainfall. Two balls and two strikes now on Kraus. Fights that pitch off foul. Now a 2-2 offering, that bounces in the dirt. We had neglected to announce the change behind the plate for Tri-Town. Alex Grauer, who had started the game at catcher and then moved on to pitch in the second inning, he was replaced behind the plate by the Tri-Town starting pitcher, Rob Ellsworth, who continues to operate behind the plate as Kraus works the leadoff walk. So it's Rob Ellsworth behind the plate. William Ellsworth is in the game now at third base. We believe Lucas Carita is still at short, with now Jax Golden playing second base. And John Ferraro still at first, and if there are any defensive changes in the outfield, we have not been able to spot them as of yet. Trying to keep our eyes peeled. It's been a very fluid situation on the field for both of these teams, as again we play by some looser rules here tonight, with this being an exhibition, not counting towards the record of either of these teams for the postseason. With Kraus aboard at first after the walk. Sean McGee remains in the number 8 spot in the lineup. Start to look at some more schedule information for Post 59. I know I need to pay off taking a look back through how the season has gone so far, so let's go ahead and do that. Milford opened up this 2023 schedule a week ago, taking on Cherry Valley here at home, and it was the first of Milford's early Mercy Rule victories. They took that one against Cherry Valley 15-1, and then it was on to McLaughlin Field to take on their rivals Leominster, of course the team that ended their season in the state tournament last year. Milford able to get some revenge with a 6-2 win over at Leominster's home field. As McGee will work a walk, back-to-back walks issued by brothers.
Eli Sylvia.
After that win against Leominster on the road, it was back at home this past Monday to take on Sturbridge. It was an 11-0 victory in that game, and then that was followed up this past Wednesday with a 10-0 win on the road against Northbridge. Always good when Milford can head into Northbridge and walk away with a victory, let alone a Mercy Rule victory. That's a field that has not been kind to Milford over the years, but a different story this season. Eli Sylvia at the plate with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Milford will be down on the Cape tomorrow, or so they hope at least, for a non-league game. But the weather is expected to be very poor tomorrow throughout the day, so not sure if that will be played as scheduled. Then Milford with 3 straight Zone 4 road games next week. On Monday at Hudson, Tuesday they visit arch rival Shrewsbury, and then on Thursday they'll travel to Bowditch Field to take on Framingham. And then next weekend it will be a tournament up at Holy Cross, as that ball is over the reach of the infield. A bloop single out into shallow right center off the bat of Sylvia. It's his second hit of the game. And Milford with another bases loaded opportunity. They have had the bases loaded, it's felt like almost every inning. First pitch swinging, Nick Koch drives this ball out to deep right field. That is over the head of Jacob Olson and is going to roll to the fence. 2 runs home for Milford, a 3rd run rounding third base. And a late stop sign is thrown up for Nick Koch, who had eyes on an inside the park grand slam, but instead he'll settle for a bases clearing triple as Milford makes it a 13-0 lead.
Now batting number 15, Jordan Martirano.
I'm sure there are a lot of fields around Zone 4 where that would have been out for a traditional Grand Slam. But if you can get one deep enough out to right, it is certainly on the table to try to circle the bases. But Coach DeVito ultimately throwing up the stop sign, so it is a 3-run triple for Nick Koch, batting out of this number 10 spot in the lineup. And so meanwhile, as we go back up to the leadoff spot, it is Jordan Martirano now batting in place of Louis Consigli. Two balls and 2 strikes. An off-balance swing is sent softly back up the middle. A bobble at second base for Golden, and everyone is going to be safe. And in the back door from third base comes Nick Koch. And you can make it a 14-0 lead for Post 59. So Milford now within 1 run of tying their single game high for this young season, which they did in that very first game against Cherry Valley. Meanwhile, Jacob Smith continues to bat out of the number 2 spot. He is up there now with a count of 2-1. Getting more and more difficult to keep the scorecard legible in this kind of a game. A lot of offense, a lot of base runners, a lot of substitutions. But the bottom line is it's a 14-0 Post 59 lead. No outs yet recorded in this 4th inning. Count now full to Jacob Smith. Hasn't produced a hit yet. Reached on a hit by pitch in the 1st inning and then grounded out to first and then flew out to right. And takes a pitch for a called strike 3. First K since coming into the game for Aiden Brothers.
Now at the plate, number 14, Sean Burchard.
And now Sean Burchard sending one out to center field, and a tumbling catch is made out there. For out number 2. So that is indeed still Rob Dion out there in center field making a nice catch. And now a foul ball off the bat of Sean Anderson. Pop-up behind first base, a shade into foul territory. The catch made there. And that out will retire the side, but Milford tacks some more onto the lead. And as we head on to the top half of the 5th inning, it is now 14-0 in favor of Post 59 here on Milford TV.
Leading off for Tri-Town in the top of the 5th inning, number 8, Alex Grauer.
Alex Grauer leading off the top of the 5th inning for Tri-Town, and he will face the 3rd Milford pitcher of the night as Tyler Calden comes in. It has been a stellar night for Milford pitching so far. No base runners allowed through the first 4. And a collective 10 strikeouts between Evan Cornelius and Sean Anderson. Meanwhile, Calden falling behind the first batter he faces. It's a 3-ball, no-strike count on Grauer. And that pitch bounces in for ball 4, and so that is how Tri-Town finally gets their first runner of the game. First 12 straight set down by Milford pitching. But Grauer aboard with the walk, and now we'll see John Ferraro. Not quite sure where Grauer is playing defensively at this point in the game, but definitely getting a little loose with the batting order and the defensive alignment as this ball is hit back up the middle. The flip to second base out there, no throw on to first. A little bit too slow developing there with the runner sliding in. So Ferraro safe at first on the fielder's choice. Grauer out at second on the force play, so that is Eli Sylvia playing second base with Louis Consigli back in the game now at shortstop. Also, Evan Cornelius has returned to the game, taking over for Jacob Smith at first base. Tyler Calden, another recent Milford High School graduate. We didn't see him on the Scarlet Hawks roster this season, but pitching here for Post 59 this summer. Able to get ahead of Rob Dion. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Next pitch is carved foul. Runner leading away from first base, that is Ferraro. Here's the 1-2 pitch, and it's swung on and missed. No chance for Dion to head down to first as it was already occupied. So a strikeout now for Calden. And there are 2 outs in this 5th inning. Rob Ellsworth batting with a runner at first base and 2 outs. He takes the pitch low for ball 1. We checked in with the coaching staff in between innings. It appears that this game will go 7 innings regardless of the score. With it being an exhibition. Otherwise, mercy rules would certainly be on the table here with 2 outs in the 5th inning, but we do expect that this game will go a full 7. One ball and 1 strike on Ellsworth, who struck out in his only at-bat so far tonight. We did also get one other piece of information from Coach DeVito, and that is that the game coming up on Monday this week against Hudson is actually going to be a home game.
Here we go.
So not being played at Riverside Park in Hudson, but instead being played here at Pheno Field. So not quite as long a swing away from home as we initially thought it was going to be. Meanwhile, a full count now on Ellsworth. Should he reach, we would see Nick Devlin. Right-hander called and ready. Here's the pitch, and it's sent on the ground towards shortstop. A couple of slow hops. Consigli fires to first, and Cornelius applies the tag to get the out that ends the inning. So Tri-Town does get their first base runner, but cannot advance past first. An effective inning of relief for Tyler Calden, and we'll move on to the bottom half of the fifth. It is 14-0, Milford on top of Tri-Town here on Milford TV.
Now on the mound for Tri-Town, number 10, Jacob Olson. Leading off for Milford in the bottom of the fifth inning, number 20, Keith Lee.
Keith Lee leads it off for Milford as we are now into the bottom half of the fifth inning. Lee will face a new Tri-Town pitcher, Jacob Olson, who started this game in right field. Left-hander on the mound as Lee sends the ball down the left field line into foul territory, and Tri-Town able to track it down. Nice running catch. We'll try to get to some more defensive substitutions if we can. Now, another interesting aspect of this game is that we are in the bottom of the fifth. However, the scoreboard out in center field has already moved on to the sixth. And given how fast and loose we're playing with some of the rules here tonight, I'm not sure if we have actually moved on to the sixth, but for right now, we'll keep it as the bottom of the fifth on our scoreboard. It's just been that kind of game tonight, folks. You just don't know what to expect. Olson out there on the hill now facing Colin Burchard. This is the second at bat for Burchard since entering the game. Head down to first base with now
batting number 2,
Jack Krause still in this number 7 spot in the batting order. Ball and 2 strikes. Quickly the count now as this ball is fouled away. Krause tonight has singled to drive in a run. He has struck out and he has walked. Two balls and 2 strikes, runner aboard at first and 1 down. And now a line drive out to left field. That is a fair ball. Second hit of the game for Krause.
Coming to the plate, number 3, Sean McGee.
So runners at first and second base now with Sean McGee at the plate. Sean has been on base all 3 times he has come up. Sean McGee clearly moving to one of the outfield positions last inning, or perhaps just taking an inning off and now re-entering the game. And now one hopper stabbed with a nice play by the Tri-Town shortstop. And that's going to end up going as an inning-ending double play, so that ball was grabbed on a bounce, and so Tri-Town ends up getting the first out at first base, but then ultimately able to get the force play at second to end the inning. So just a bizarre 6-3 to 6, I believe, inning-ending double play. It's just the kind of unconventional double play you should expect.
Now pitching for Milford, number 3, Sean McGee. Now batting for Tri-Town in the top of the 6th inning, number 2, Nick Devlin.
Milford employing their 4th pitcher of the game now as Sean McGee takes over on the hill. Gets a ground ball on the first pitch of this top of the 6th inning. Fielded cleanly at shortstop by Louis Consigli back at that position. Fires it over to Anderson now playing first. And so Nick Devlin retired for the first out here in the 6th inning. And so now Benjamin Gustafson hitting out of the number 8 spot. Batting in place of Jacob Olson in this spot in the order, who had struck out in his only plate appearance. And so far, Milford pitching has faced just 1 over the minimum through the first 5 1/3. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. And a swing and a miss. So now every Milford pitcher that has come into the game has at least 1 strikeout. McGee with 1, Tyler Calden, who pitched a scoreless 5th inning, had a single K, and then 5 strikeouts apiece for Sean Anderson and Evan Cornelius, as now this ball is sent over towards second base off the bat of number 17, Sadion Campos, and it ends in a 4-3 ground out that will conclude things quickly here in the 6th inning. So we'll head on to the home half of the frame with the scoreboard unchanged. Milford 14 and Tri-Town nothing here on Milford TV. "14 runs on 13 hits with no errors for Post 59. No runs, no hits, 3 errors for Tri-Town." That is our story, and we're sticking to it here on our scorecard, which has gotten more and more murky as this game has gone on. A lot of players exiting and re-entering this game. We've seen a little bit of everything, a whole lot of offense from Post 59. So it will be Eli Sylvia, the first to the plate for Milford in the bottom of the 6th, facing Ben Gustafson now taking over on the mound. Left-handed pitcher. Soft one in for a strike. Sylvia has walked and twice singled. Each time coming around to score with those hits coming in the third and fourth innings. Here's a 1-2 pitch, and it's fought off foul. Sneaking over the chain link and out of play.
Keep going at it, buddy. Let's go.
Sylvia now lining this ball out to center field, but it will hang up for out number 1. Looks like Alex Grauer might be out there in center field now. So we were wondering where Grauer ended up defensively. It's not the easiest to pick up the outfield positions, as we're set up under the canopy directly behind the backstop here at Pheno Field. Not always easy to pick up those uniform numbers. Leadoff man retired here in the 6th, and now Nick Koch at the plate. He's been on base twice. He walked and scored in the 3rd inning, and then came very close to an inside the park grand slam in the 4th inning, settled for a 3-run triple. And falling behind here, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Now slaps this ball out into shallow right center field. Drops down for a hit. Just kept traveling.
Coming to the plate, number 15, Jordan Martirano.
So that's 2 hits now in the game for Nick Koch. And now an at-bat for Jordan Martirano. Taking his 2nd at-bat out of the leadoff spot. Takes the pitch low, it bounces, and Koch will advance down to 2nd base. Looks like Evan Cornelius might take another at-bat in this game, this time out of the number 2 spot. Now a pop-up in foul ground and out of play. The play made in the stands behind home plate by a fan, as now this ball is lined out to left field for a base hit.
Now at the plate, number 13, Evan
And so
Cornelius.
now runners at the corners after that hit for Martirano. And so now here is Evan Cornelius. Started this game on the mound, pitched 2 perfect innings, striking out 5. And took his first few at-bats out of the number 4 spot, now batting here in the number 2 spot, and sends a fly ball down the left field line foul. The catch made there as Nick Koch tags up and scores from 3rd base. So an RBI for Cornelius on the sac fly.
Sean Burchard.
And that will make it a 15-0 post 59 lead. As that pitch bends in for strike 1. Sean Burchard batting. And he sends a ground ball over towards the first base bag that is eventually picked up by Brady Devlin to get the out that retires the side. So Milford grabs an additional run on the sac fly for Cornelius. And we will head to the 7th inning. It is a 15. We have reached the 7th inning in this adventurous exhibition game between Milford Post 59 and Tri-Town, Connecticut. Milford leading 15-0.
Will Ellsworth, Tri-Town.
And Scott Paliuka now on the mound for Post 59, the 5th pitcher utilized. Facing off against William Ellsworth to start this 7th inning. Way back when this game got started, Scott Paliuka was the left fielder and in the number 6 spot in the lineup. He's had a couple of innings off. Now back out on the mound looking to finish this one off. Here's the 2-1 pitch. And it's hit softly towards second base. Flip over to first, gets there in time for the out. That was Eli Sylvia playing second with Sean Anderson at first.
Number 4, Jax Golden.
And so now we will see Jax Golden taking it bat. He came in defensively partway through this game. He sends a foul ball up over the third base dugout and out of play. The count goes to 1-1. So again, Milford with aspirations to play a non-league game on the Cape tomorrow, but that game very much in question depending on how cooperative the weather ends up being. But they will be in action here at Fino on Monday to take on Hudson. Meanwhile, a very late swing and a miss for Golden as he goes down on strikes, and now Tri-Town down to their last out. Matthew Dearborn, the latest pinch hitter to come to the plate. A very off-balance swing and a miss. The only base runner in this game for Tri-Town came in the 5th inning on a leadoff walk issued to Alex Grauer. As that ball is rolled foul off the end of the bat. And Tri-Town now down to their last strike. Paliuka shaking off some signs. Now has the pitch he wants. Here it comes, and it's high. Here comes the 1-2 pitch, and it's fought off out into shallow right field, and a diving play is made. That is Eli Sylvia with a diving catch and a ball that looked like it was going to sneak through for the first Tri-Town hit, and instead Eli Sylvia makes a diving play to end the game and secure a no-hitter in this one for Post 59. What a way to end it. A little floater that was going to get over the head of the first baseman, but there is Sylvia with the diving play. And just a fitting way for this one to end. Outstanding for Sylvia. And Milford showing a little defense in a game where they showed plenty of offense and outstanding pitching. And Milford ends up defeating Tri-Town by a final score of 15-0. So this was a fun one here tonight in an exhibition game. Milford with a victory here that will not count towards their league standings, but certainly another strong performance for Post 59. So again, we'll look to have much more Legion baseball coverage for you as the season goes along, so stay close to our social media as we announce all of our future coverage plans. And, of course, you can watch any of our sports coverage anytime over on our YouTube page. But that's going to wrap things up here for tonight. A big thank you to our Milford TV crew on hand for the coverage. Our camera operator tonight is Patrick Garapi, and our director is Kyle Barlow. And I am Tim Coette. That final score, one final time, Milford defeats Tri-Town 15-0. This has been a presentation of Milford High School Athletics. I beg your pardon. This has been a presentation of Milford Legion Baseball here on Milford TV. So long, everybody.